Welcome to the Asclepion. I'm Kevin McKegg.
And I'm Luke Strom.
Our podcast dives into the deep questions of life. How do we find love, discover our true selves, and live out our dreams in this wild, weird world? We're going to take you on a journey of philosophical inquiry, spiritual adventure.
Okay. Just imagine you're like sitting around a campfire with the homies and you all start opening up and talking about real shit. That's pretty much what we're going to do here.
Yeah, or it's what I said.
Okay, look, all you need to know is that we have no idea what we're doing.
Welcome
to the Asclepion.
Asclepion.
That's what I said. All right, dude. I'm just going to run through my take on what I feel like is going on in the world of young people trying to find love. I've been through my own journey with it, my own struggles, and maybe we can get into some of that later, but it seems to me like what we used to think of as love, as this like kind of corny, mushy-gushy, rosy colored eye goggles, all that stuff, it seems like people feel that that's like a thing of the past. And the modern definition of love is it's more elusive. It's more of like this phantom memory or something. We're trying to figure out why love is still worth all of the struggle, all of the emotional craziness, and so many new ideas about what love is and what a relationship means are coming up, which are, valid for whoever likes them, wants to pursue them that way. But it seems like there used to be this kind of universal feeling of what love is a few decades ago or so. But now, especially with younger people, it's like this weird, vague thing. And it seems like some people, some couples that I know at least, still have that kind of old-fashioned love vibe. But even some other couples I see, it's kind of like it just doesn't seem fully there, like of the full commitment is lacking. And also people who are single, who've been single for a long time, or who've really struggled with dating and so on, they seem to have either given up on love, or they just don't really know what they want, and like they just don't really know how to make sense of it all. And I can't help but think that in the past there used to be much more of it used to be much more of a universal pursuit. Everybody wants love, of course, but I feel like nowadays it's more like, well, that would be great, but also a career, also what the hell is going on with the world, also blah blah blah, a million things. I feel like it's just in a strange place right now, and people are talking about it, why that's happening. There's a lot of interesting research going into relationships, especially amongst like Gen Z, millennial generations. And I can get into some of that in a bit too. But how does that sit with you? What do you see these days?
I met a group of 20-year-olds the other day, and I asked them what they thought of romantic love in the modern world. And one of them, young man, said, these days, when you go out on a date, you split the tab. And I felt that that's a pretty perfect analogy for the way that men and women are behaving in our modern world, where nobody's really fully in. And we've been taught and conditioned through our experiences and the systems as they are in the modern world and the consciousness as it is, that we're each so individual that there's no room for the self-sacrifice and enormous opportunity for dissolving it and dying into something like a container that serves romantic love as an energy that's something bigger than yourself and makes you better as a human being, despite what might be self-sacrifice and the difficulties of prioritizing something over yourself. And I think that's something that we've lost, or at least we haven't yet grown into as a culture. I think we remain adolescent in this way of energetically splitting the tab and not letting ourselves invested in something that's, could be ultimately self-annihilating.
Splitting the tab. Interesting. That's a it's a pretty symbolic way of looking at it. Yeah. So when you say it feels like something's been lost, so you also feel like maybe there used to be more of this shared ideal of what love is and that most people want it, even if, they never find it or they really struggle to. Most people, you do want it, right?
I think my grandparents' generation and the conventional constraints around monogamous relationship and lifelong partnership was beautiful. I don't think there's any going back to that for most of us in the modern world. I think what we're leaning into and starting to live into are the potential of energetic containers where masculine and feminine people create a kind of dynamo that creates the energetic circumstances for enlightenment, relational enlightenment.
Mm.
I don't know that I have words for it. Those are just kind of my like intuitions around it.
So do you feel like that idea of what love is and what a lifelong or just even long-term relationship is, those ideas are just falling by the wayside? Do you think that that happened consciously, or do you think that that is just kind of a result of all these other things going on in today's world?
Yeah, I think it's just a change in the consciousness of the people and our institutions, including that of relationship, are trying desperately to keep up with that and sort of failing to keep us together and keep us committed. And birth rates are dropping across the entire Western world, and the institution of marriage. I don't know how you feel about marriage in and of itself. I mean, I think it's extremely holy and sacred, but also it's I think like half of marriages or more end in divorce in the United States at least. Um, and there's kind of this plummeting of birth rates and the widening of the gap between the beliefs and value systems of the genders. I think, in the 50s or something, or before that, we had sort of conventional containers that at least kind of kept us together. And it seems like the falcon spins on the widening gyre the center cannot hold. What do you think? What does that bring up for you?
Well, it's I did actually a fair amount of research before this episode on what's going on across the world as far as romantic relationships and marriages, and I think people have been noticing that fertility rates have been going down for quite a few years now, but it's really remarkable that relationships, just committed relationships, marriage, monogamous commitments, those are actually declining basically across the world. And I did not realize that. I would have thought, mostly in more industrialized countries at least, or just maybe more in the Western hemisphere, but it seems to be happening all around the world. So I agree with you that there seems to be things going on in the culture that are probably shifting us away from this apparently old-fashioned ideal of what love is, but it seems like because it's happening in so many different countries, there have to be other things going on too. I feel like it's partially, I guess, cultural conscious change and sort of unconscious, because I do feel like not everybody, but most people romanticize that idea of love. You find your one true love, and both of you just sweep each other off your feet whenever that may be. And you fly away on this diamond ship into the stars, and your life is just this amazing poem, right? And of course, even if you're wonderful for each other, it's not that perfect in real life, but to have those butterflies and to have a committed, sustained relationship with someone you really, really love, like there's nothing more beautiful than that, right? And I don't want to, shun people
I
who,
believe in romantic love. I really do. I really do. I think it takes a risk and there's almost a fear of like leaning into romantic love and being left hanging somehow. Like none of us are really willing to get involved with something because there's 1,000 other opportunities that might happen, and so we're non-committal. We've become increasingly so in our modern world.
Okay.
What you said reminded me of a really funny story. I don't know if it's apropos of the topic, but it's just kind of a funny anecdote that happened. You and I were skiing one day, and I was snowboarding, and we were coming down at Copper, and there was a couple like in front of me, and he was filming her, and she cut out to the left right in front of me, and I stopped and caught an edge and fell back on my butt and slid under her, and she fell into my arms like the crossing the threshold thing, and we slid for 20 feet while this guy is filming us, and we stopped. I was like, you know, I do. And then are you okay? Yes. And like gave her back to her husband or whatever. It must have been a newlywed couple or something like that. Literally like fell into my arms. So if that wasn't fated, I don't know what was, but it's just kind of a funny retro
Wow.
romantic sort of anecdote.
That would happen to you. Man, I miss our skiing days so much.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, no, I, well, what you were saying is one of the main things that I think is influencing this decline in relationships and just people reporting that they're in a solid, committed, loving relationship around the world is that there does seem to be much more of an emphasis on pursuing one's individual goals, whether that's career or lifestyle, whatever it may be. It does seem like in the last maybe 10 or so years that that has seemed to be more important than getting married, starting a family. Not for everybody, of course. There's still plenty of people getting married, having kids, but
Sure, sure. Well,
um,
thankfully in the States, the birth rate hasn't declined and hasn't hit zero. It's not quite below replacement as it is in other places, but that's disastrous on the economy and it's just sort of sad.
yeah,
I don't know. I sort of have this pet theory that we ballooned out with the force of the modern industrial world so much to 8 billion people that we just all of a sudden got tired of procreating. And we're like, okay, we're good. Yeah, that's enough. But
sure.
I really don't know. There's kind of a mystery behind it where people are uh, choosing education before starting a family. And there's a correlation between the level of education in a country and the birth rates. And it's inverse. So
Inverse,
the
yeah.
the more education, the lower the birth rate is. And it could be partially due to the advances of modernism. And at the turn of the 20th century, uh, life expectancy was 40 because of infant mortality. And we've done so much to flatten the curve and stop the death of children through disease and other things. Has that just made us somewhat ambivalent then about procreating? Like, I certainly love sex, but it's kind of like the entire culture now is geared towards your education first and your career first and you first versus starting a family at 20 like my grandparents did. And have we gotten away from something that not only is sustaining the culture, but also is sustaining meaning for us relationally? And is that a pitfall in that it's lessening the sense of deep, heartfelt meaning that we get through relationship that's become kind of an abyss or a void to our modern world? And we're just floundering and curling up and dying of loneliness in our isolated little tech bubbles, while the opportunity for deep transformative relational context that takes us out of ourselves is passing us by all the while outside.
Damn. What are you, Robert Frost or something, bro? Period. Um, no,
Mic drop.
you just summed up a huge chunk of it, dude. I feel like it's a simultaneous, it's virtuous to want to encourage young people to be ambitious in their career, to want to really find their,
Yes.
their favorite career path, to be successful, to set themselves up to be secure and happy before they get into a committed relationship, marriage. Supporting a family is, tough. It's more expensive now. And So those are all wonderful things, and I think as far as I can tell, a lot of young people, maybe more than when I was in high school, college, they really do want to make a name for themselves and stand
Yeah.
out and have a more unique career as opposed to just, well, I want to be a doctor or like I want to be this or that, and that's cool. Um,
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like the whole conventional context of starting a family and then getting a predictable, safe career for your entire life and then retiring, that's gone. That's
yeah,
way behind us for most
yeah.
people.
Which I mean, again, if that's what you want
Like,
to do, no shame. Like, enjoy your life, dude. Like, there are people out there who
totally,
I
totally,
see, and they're like, I just love the idea of being a dad and having a family, and like, I don't really care what my job is as long as I make a good enough salary. Awesome, dude. Like, if you're genuinely happy, that's amazing. Be a good dad and husband and all that. Like,
100%
go
agree.
for it. But
100% agree.
yeah, at the same time, I do see people, especially, maybe in their 30s, our age roughly, who have been going down that path. And even if they have found their dream job or they're really doing well financially, creatively, all of that stuff, they're like, they hit this point of a crossroads, sort of like, do I continue this path of just being a beast, a career mode beast? Or do I sort of take a step back and assess other parts of my life that may be missing? I am single at age 32, 33, 38, whatever, and my career is great, but like I'm missing something. I've been having fun, I've been working hard, but oh yeah, there's love. Oh, that's
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
It's like, and I see that all the time. I read about it on the internet. I hear people, in real life telling me that sort of thing.
Mhm.
And so, yeah,
You've
that
you've
that's
talked
real
you've
too.
talked a lot about the epidemic of loneliness,
Hmm.
and you seem especially passionate about that topic because of its effect on our mental health and well-being.
Totally. And
Yeah.
that also goes alongside with uh, things that have been happening in the last 5, 10 years. I mean, what more obvious of a impact could you have than a pandemic on loneliness? We had
Well,
to be
that
inside,
isolated us so much
of course.
because we had to be 6 feet away from everyone. We had masks on all the time. You couldn't see people's facial gestures.
Dude, we were afraid to look at each other.
It was fucking insane.
And I do think that like isolation and those tendencies were increasing even before the pandemic, but that like there's nothing that could have
That cinched
possibly
it.
happened. Yeah.
That cinched it. If there was a trend towards the isolation of the modern individualist identity, that cinched it, and it put everybody behind a screen, behind a partition, behind a mask, uh, 6 feet of separation. You're right. I
Yeah.
don't think there's any better analogy for extreme isolation and individualism than what happened over the pandemic. I never thought about it that way, but completely
Totally.
true. I remember there were moments when I felt closer to my family because we were all looking out for each other during the early months. And then everything started to feel like more abstracted than ever and more pulled away from our social tendencies and from the natural world than ever, and more mediated through our screens than ever. And I think that's caused a whole new crisis, not only of identity, but also of our psychological and emotional health and well being.
Absolutely. And there's been a lot of research into that as well, and I think there'll be a lot more to come.
Let's face it, the dating world is hard, especially if you're an incurable nihilist. But let me ask you something. If life is so meaningless, if nothing really matters, including you, why not share it with someone who also thinks you don't matter? That's the true meaning of love, right? Now you can find that special someone to not care about more than anyone else at nihilistonly.com. Not caring about anything has to be a little less depressing when you do it with someone you love, I guess. At nihilistonly.com, we guarantee you'll find your insignificant other in 30 days or less. But since time isn't that big a deal for you guys, we know you won't mind if it takes longer than that. Or if you never find love at all. nihilistonly.com, your new favorite waste of time.
And I think we can all agree that the pandemic has made just life in general so weird. Like I went around, I think from, maybe 2021, 2023 or 4, just asking random people, friends, family, strangers, life is weird now, right? And they're all like, "Oh yeah. Oh
Right.
yeah. Oh
Right.
yeah." Like everyone just
I,
drop dead
I
agreeing.
remember. Yeah, no. I remember you hit me with that. You were like, dude, like things seem like really weird right now, right? Yeah. Yeah, no question. Oh, okay, good, good, good.
Yeah.
Glad it's not me. No, it's not you.
Well, dude, that's why
It's
it's so
like we've just become pulled back and pulled back and pulled back, and our identities are more and more abstracted and abstracted and abstracted.
yeah.
We're getting more and further away from everything that contained us and held our identities as staple, solid things. Um, it's such a weird time still, even 5 years later,
Yeah, for sure.
because it's just become instantiated into the culture.
Yeah, and I don't want to say that as a sort of accusatory, like, oh, everyone's trying to be weird. It's like we just went through an extremely traumatic worldwide event. Obviously, we're still healing. It's probably going to take another 5 or so years before we feel somewhat like,
And even when we're
wow,
healed,
past it.
we just got permanently changed
Yeah, definitely.
as a culture. Yeah.
It's a major event, man. I mean, no pandemic has happened like that since maybe the Spanish flu in what, 1918 or whatever it was. That was over 100 years ago, and our culture had basically no preparation for it. But I do really think that part of this sort of weird feeling is huge for finding meaning in love and finding romantic relationships. Just the world feels, life feels weird, and if you're not able to really make sense of life or like your role in the world, what's the point of pursuing love? How are you able to say I'm like I feel like to find the guts to approach people with the sort of intent of going on dates even or just getting into a relationship, you have to feel some level of groundedness and like I kind of have a good sense of who I am or what's going on in my world, and maybe that's not true, but it seems like there's this vague feeling of life. It's like so everything is so relative that like what love is has been kind of thrown out the window. It's
Well,
like
it's been deconstructed as a mere social artifact that, at its essence, controls or dominates people and keeps them trapped inside of um, traditional contexts that are, at the very least, outdated and at worst, evil and suppressing. But here's how I see it. I think that we're entering into an era where there's an opportunity for us to revert back to our essential energy, masculine, feminine, whatever, and then operate in the world through a transformative lens where we're able to manifest and attract relationships that create transformation needed to start to identify as living light, as the evolutionary process itself, as something like our inherent enlightened qualities or virtues or goodness in and of themselves, and exude and come into life as the presence of love itself. And relationship is such a powerful container for doing that, that when you get a couple ship together who's so committed to the process of personal growth and transformation, there's almost no better way to prime yourself for the experience of selflessness, because the container requires that you show up and put yourself behind you so that you can become something much more. So
Damn,
that's what I
dude.
see us moving into. And I think the veil and the confusion and the fog that we're experiencing now is because we're at a sort of crossroads in the culture.
Damn, bro. Say less. Say less. Um, wow. Yeah. Well, I mean, you're talking about like the highest level of romantic love, it seems.
I think that at its essence is where romantic and erotic love can take you if you're ready for the journey. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe you, man. I've felt some level of that in my with my relationship right now, and it feels like that.
Transcendent.
Yeah, the ability to reach higher levels of compassion for yourself and for, I guess, everybody, and just to feel like you're uplifted from all of these struggles and pains in the world, to have this healing power right next to you or in you. I feel like that was always what people inherently wanted when they wanted love. They wanted to feel healed. You find your missing half, right? You find this big thing that is going to make your life and you feel better than you ever could have before. But you and I've talked about this a lot too, how now there's this narrative of, I don't need that to feel perfect. I can
Yeah.
do everything on my own. I don't
That's
need a
become the
relationship.
pervasive narrative in the culture. Yeah, I see two pitfalls there. The first is a more conventional frame. You complete me, where, I'm this like half of a whole. And when I come together with a relationship, that person completes me. And then it's codependent until we die.
Hmm.
That's a bit reductionist. Sorry. But that would be the inherent pitfall in something like a conventional relationship. And then the modern context is I am whole and complete and perfect as I am, and I don't need anybody to complete me. And that, frankly, creates a ton of rampant narcissism because now it's all about me and my own process. And, I don't need anybody else, therefore I'm the only one that matters. So there's the pitfall there. And yeah, there's problems written within both of those narratives. That's why I'm kind of suggesting this third way, or this perhaps the possibility of something like a sacred relationship container that causes the conditions for self-growth that lead to a sense of yourself as the divine, even as you dance within life through marriage, through child rearing, through work. Everything becomes living light, everything becomes divine. That's what I see as possible for us. But I think on our way there, we're crossing some pretty treacherous water, and a lot of people are becoming victim to the abyss or vacuum of meaning as we let go of conventional narratives. And it's devastating for people because we've become nihilistic and narcissistic as a culture. What do you think?
Damn, dude. You're on one today, bro. You've been drinking that kombucha. Um, yes, I feel like ideally there's a way to merge this idea of the goodness of wanting to be complete, not complete, but you want to have a relatively full sense of yourself and your life path, your life goals. You want to be at least on the path of where you want to go career wise, what you want to do with your time, whatever that
Podcasting.
self-sustaining, yeah, whatever your individual path is in life. I think the emphasis on finding that nowadays, that's happening, I think, more than it used to. I think that's great. But then how can we merge that with remembering that it can be even better if you find a loving partner who will support you in every way, basically. They will bring your careers to even new heights, even, branch out your social life. They'll fill in emotional gaps. They'll help heal your deepest wounds. It's all possible, and I'm not saying that you can't do those things on your own, maybe through therapy or really close friendships, family, but why would that exclude a romantic relationship? I think it seems like people, and I've been there, I've felt this too, are really worried about sacrificing their time to a
Mhm.
relationship. And going beyond that, having kids, that's even more of a sacrifice of time.
Mhm.
And so I
Oh,
think
for sure.
definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, can we merge this wonderful pursuit of self fulfillment, self excellence with sharing your life and making the necessary sacrifices to have that wonderful relationship too?
No question. I think we've forgotten that, and the messages from the culture generally have been so individualistic that that's become pathological, and now we don't believe in romantic relationship as a s- supportive framework for the rest of our endeavors, but something that actually gets in the way of our pursuits. Which I think you're right. I don't think it is. I think the essence of relationship is synergistic. And if you're in a relationship that's healthy, then it's going to give you much more energy and meaning that you can then turn around and devote to the rest of your life, not vice versa. I don't think it should be a drag on you.
Yeah, I feel like in the modern dating world, people don't see it that way. I think it's like, well, I'll just, fuck around on the apps and see what happens. And oh, everyone on there is shitty or lame, or maybe
Dude,
I
it's crazy. These apps are the most popular apps in the world, and they have the lowest ratings of any app in the world also.
really.
Nobody's nobody ask yourself truly when you're on these apps, are you really getting the nurturance and relationship depth that you're yearning for? Maybe occasionally it works out and you can let go of the apps and just be in a relationship. But most people that I know who are using them, they're so consistently disillusioned that I'm thinking of someone you and I know. He'll download it. He'll do a hard reset of it. He'll put his profile out. He'll get all the sexy pictures. He'll match with people. He'll be all excited about, oh, I matched with 20 girls today. Oh my God. His enthusiasm will wane after going on a few dates, and then he deletes it. And then a few months later, he's lonely, so he downloads it again and then repeats the cycle.
Yeah.
It's like an addiction, and I think it's made to be that way. It's meant to be an addictive technology,
Well, yeah. I
but it's
mean,
not definitely not giving you what you need. I mean, I guess some people get matched and they're really happy and they're in a relationship that really works for them. But
well, I think there's this sort of negative feedback loop where you have the same effect of spiking your dopamine on your phone that you get when you get a bunch of likes on an Instagram post, right? So when you match with someone on a dating app, you also get that dopamine spike. But the underlying thing that you're trying to do on a dating app is secretly either hook up or probably even beyond that, find love, right? I think most people, even if they say they're just looking for something short term, no strings attached, they still deep down, most people want to find a really great partner. And so,
I think that's what we're all yearning for. Maybe even if it's not romantic relationship, I think we're all yearning to experience ourselves as being worthy of love and to feel loved and to be able to give the gift of our love in return. I really don't think there's anything better than that. I think we all crave it, whether we know it or not, whether that it's become sublimated into other pursuits or not, whether we're looking to our career to feel like we're valued and loved. I think the unconditional feeling of love is something essential to our experience of ourselves, and it's something like the highest good that we can experience as humans.
I think so too. Just to say that out loud sounds kind of extreme nowadays, right? To say that like love is the most beautiful thing ever, or like,
Well, we're jaded. We're jaded.
yeah, dude, it's sad. And we've been kind of touching on this earlier, how the latest modern culture is sort of trying to put traditional values or traditional ideals in the past, and some of those definitely should be. Not everything that has been, part of our culture, especially in America, has been good, to say the least.
Sure,
But
sure. We'll also, yeah, a traditional relationship context isn't going to work for everybody.
for sure, that too.
I don't know what percentage of Americans, for example, even are religious or identify as religious anymore. But 50 years flat, and now it's like most of us aren't even religious, and so we don't have access to the traditional containers that actually, in some ways, fortified romantic love and ensured that there was at least a path to access it. We're a bit adrift, aren't we?
If you're a mad scientist looking for love, you're not just looking for someone you can relate to, you're looking for someone who can solve your most esoteric equations. Someone who wants you to smell like sulfur dioxide all day. Well, guess what, Einstein? Mad Scientist Mingle has a beautiful, frizzy haired genius waiting just for you. Mad Scientist Mingle is the only dating app for mad scientists by mad scientists. That's right. Everyone on our team has been cast out of society for being too smart and too weird, just like you. We know how fun it is to make useless inventions and fill vials with weird green stuff, and we say, why not make it a date? Just think of it as having a lab partner that you can make out with. Download the Mad Scientist Mingle app and meet someone who loves you as much as their ridiculous experiments today. Mad Scientist Mingle, the only place where science, love, and insanity all come together.
Well, you mentioned it the other day too, how listen to the 1950s Spotify playlist or whatever. Every single song is about love, 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 love. Billy, Buddy Holly. Oh my God. The Beatles, Elvis, even. Everyone is talking about the same shit. Like 98% of the music is
It's all
talking
love
about love.
songs. It's all
Yeah.
love songs.
And now it's like, oh, I'm sitting in my room, emotional, I guess, whatever. Okay,
Dating my
song's over.
laptop.
Yeah. And, obviously there are still love songs being written, of course,
But
but
many fewer are popular and on the radio and
it
on.
seems less, and it's either more sexualized just for the sake of sexuality, or it's more talking about the problems with love. Like a lot of Taylor Swift songs are about how it's so hard to hold on to a great relationship, or how you get disillusioned in doing that. And people relate to that because it's true. Maybe it's harder nowadays for other reasons, but it does seem like, yeah, there's this sense of ambiguity now around it. And I do feel like, for me at least, kind of remembering these, I guess, old fashioned ideals of what love is, or what it means to be grounded, or to be a good person. It's like, oh yeah, that we shouldn't have forgotten those things. Some of them. Some of them really are true and timeless. And again, that's not to say everyone needs to, find love in the same way. Everyone needs to listen to Buddy Holly's lyrics and do it that way. That's not true, of
Well,
course.
like I said earlier, there's no going back. I think we're adrift. I don't think that means we're going nowhere. I think we're heading in a direction of something like an enlightened society that recognizes itself as the inherent qualities of virtue that the divine might manifest. And I think relationships are going to take a tack towards being more meaningful, but the context is going to change. And I don't think we're going to be bound by the strictures of a conventional relationship, nor by the conceits of an individualistic culture that makes us think that we're constantly splitting the tab energetically. We're stepping into a transformative time. We can't help that. I think it's like the world as we knew it is past, and it's time to lean into uncertainty and rediscover a deeper meaning that either we've lost track of and forgotten, or we have yet to discover. And it's probably a little bit of both. I think our work in the coming years is going to be integrating the past with the present and moving into the future in a way that is deeply meaningful, and recognize that the universe is not an inherently meaningless place. And that is a medicine for a society that's adrift in meaninglessness and nihilism and narcissism. And relationship is one of those containers that provides deep meaning that you cannot escape, because it requires that all sorts of things are brought up within you to be healed through and worked through. And it requires that in some ways you put your sense of self behind you so that you can show up and actually serve and be of service. And that's the antidote to narcissism.
Hell yeah. Okay, cool. Why don't we take a slightly different tack here
No.
and fuck you, dude. You
You know what? You're fired.
Doge is coming for us, bro. The podcast industry just done. I would love to talk a little bit about just I guess I can talk a little bit about my own experience with dating, which has been extremely up and down, just to give a little bit of context and maybe inspiration to some people, because there's no doubt that dating is hard. Dating is weird, and maybe it's never been weirder. I think you could probably say that too,
Dating
right?
is weird.
I'll give a quick, I guess, run through of my romantic past. I was not exactly a Casanova in my youth.
As you are now.
Uh, oh yeah, oh yeah, baby. Um, it sounded so wrong.
You were a nerd. You still are a nerd.
Yes, I still am a nerd. But when I basically all through high school and college, I did not date. I, of course, wanted to date, but I just did not really take it upon myself to try and figure out how to do it. I guess I probably tried a couple of apps like twice or something, and then I like chickened out. And I was very shy just in general with everybody. I only had a few friends at a time throughout all of those years, and I dealt with some negative experiences in high school, middle school, bullying and all that bullshit.
Whoa.
And I think that had an effect on my self-esteem, but we don't need to get into that here.
Fuck that,
Basically,
man.
yeah, I know you went through that
I got
too.
bullied. Yeah, I
So,
got bullied as a kid.
yeah,
Bullies are
sucks,
mean,
dude.
dude.
Kids.
I started fighting back. I was like, no. Sorry. Okay, that was a totally interrupted your story. But I was commiserating. I'm commiserating with you, dude.
No, 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 you're
Don't
good.
hate me.
You got
Don't
it.
hate me.
You got to air your bully grievances
I
on
got
us.
grievances about bullies. Bullies suck. Fuck these bullies.
So, after college, I moved to San Francisco and I started to feel a little more confident in my life. I had, not my dream job, but I was making friends at work. I was living in an incredible new city. I lived in this awesome neighborhood, North Beach. If any of you know it, a very cool, artistic, eccentric neighborhood. And yeah, what up, dude? Made a lot of
What
great
up,
friends
North
there, and I
Beach?
stay weird,
Stay
bro.
weird.
What up, Cafe
What up,
Trieste?
Trieste?
I started to feel a little bit more confident in my life and myself, and I started going on the apps again. And long story short, I just forced myself to try to go on dates, and come what may, whatever happens, if I get totally shut down and embarrassed, okay, dude, at least you tried. That was my attitude. I'd had enough of being alone. I just had this reckoning of like, maybe I'm not meant to date. Maybe I am just too weird, but you know what? I'm going to try.
Nice.
There has to be a reason that all these people are singing about love and writing about love,
Buddy
and
Holly.
there has to be something there. Like at age 24, I didn't know what that thing was, dude. Like if I had an idea of what it was just a fantasy. I didn't know in real life. And so I was like, you have to get this experience.
That's crazy, man.
And
Just comparing notes at each of us at 24. Just we were in such different worlds. But we can talk about that later.
for sure. So I ended up having a longish relationship, a year and a half or so, and learned a ton from that. But the main thing at the beginning was just, wow, I can go on
What's up, Luke
dates,
the dog?
and I won't.
Sorry. Sorry,
There
your
he is.
dog just got up from its nap, so I had to say hi.
Hey, buddy. Who's that? Who's that?
Hey, is that the audience? Look,
Dude,
the audience loves cute dogs. Look.
he's the best.
So good. Okay, back to your
Um,
story.
I just started to feel like, wow, I won't get shot in the face if I go on a date. and I'm not completely inept at talking to women. I just somehow, maybe I was just fully bullshitting. Maybe I was just acting, but so what? It worked. I ended up going on a date and I ended up finding a girlfriend for the first time basically ever. And that was I guess the start of my changing my attitude towards, I guess, dating. And I had thought that it was such a that that I had to become this suave gentleman, that I had to learn all these stupid pickup lines, that I had to understand what love is all about first. And actually, I just ended up diving in and saying fuck it and figured out more on the
So
way.
that Aries and
And
Venus.
hell yeah, dude. I guess, I mean, that's where I sort of learned
Yeah.
how to date a girl. That's how I learned what my biggest insecurities were. And I certainly didn't become an amazing boyfriend after one relationship, but I tried. I stuck it out and definitely got a lot out of that. And it was 100% worth
It's
it, even
wild.
though it didn't
It's
last,
wild,
you
man.
know?
I'm just comparing notes with my relationship when I was 24. I met this really beautiful girl at the Shambhala Mountain Center where I was on an extended summer retreat and doing forestry work. And she was on land crew as well, and I wasn't sure if we were, compatible or if she even liked me. And I was a bit shy and I was kind of dating other people at the time, as you do when you're 24. And then I went to Hawaii a little less than a year later. It was a year and a half later. And turns out she was there because I happened to run into her at an event on Kauai, which is this sort of this small remote island, the oldest of the islands. We met up and then started hanging out. And she was in a relationship, but her boyfriend had just suggested that they be poly. And then she started hanging out with me, and he got really upset because he was possessive, but wanted to have all the free sex that he wanted without, and he was jealous. And then they broke up, and then she started dating me exclusively. I went back to the mainland. I'm telling you, man, this is not a conventional setup, right? So I came back to the mainland and then she moved in with me. And then we started having these like incredible tantric, like self uh, dissolving experiences. And it was this highly spiritualized relationship. And then it abruptly ended because we couldn't like keep it together on some level. And she left. And I still talk to her, still love her to this day. But it was this like high wire act of no longer having conventional containers, right? And being in a modern context. All the rules went out the window, and it was just like its own thing that led me to perceive spiritual capacities in relationship that I might not otherwise have seen.
Okay, so that's what I was going to ask you. So you can say confidently that even though that was kind of crazy, you still learned a lot from
Oh,
that
so
experience.
much, man, so much.
Yeah,
Maybe even more than if it were just a conventional relationship. I'm not saying that the fact that we've thrown out some of these traditional contexts is necessarily wrong. I think cultural evolution has kind of taken its own direction, and we can't help but follow that as we become more conscious and whatnot. I'm just saying I've explored things enough to think that there's sort of an inherent movement towards relationship as transformative crucible. And if we lean into that, then they're going to be as meaningful as they were before or more. And that right now we're just kind of in a dead zone where relationships are kind of meaningless and life is kind of meaningless. And that's what I want to counteract because I think it's damaging to us.
for sure, man. So yeah, I to kind of wrap up my story, I was so shy, dude. Like I was the last person you'd ever thought would have had any like relationship success. And it only came because I just said I'm fed up with this shit. I'm fed up with being alone, with being a wimp. And I didn't have any like older men telling me, "Hey, just try, just go up to her and buy her a drink," like giving me advice, or
Yeah, well,
I
well,
really
that also
didn't.
doesn't really work in the same way that it used to.
Or even just like good advice, like sage advice.
Right,
Like
right.
I just said I'm gonna figure this out. and I eventually, now I'm in love with a incredible girl, and
Yeah, she
that's
is.
been its own crazy journey. And but I just want to say that I don't want to, project. I don't want to put my own experience on other people. Of course, everyone has their own profoundly unique experience with love and romance and dating. But I just want to say to anyone who has been really struggling that if you can tell deep down that you really do want love and you do really want a long term committed relationship, it's totally out there. It's totally possible because so many other people want that. And you might meet someone great and find, like, holy shit, we both actually wanted this, but we're both kind of freaking out because we can't believe it's actually happening. That was my experience. But yeah, I don't want to say too much about, like, you need to do this, or like you're definitely going to feel this, because I felt deep down like I had this conversation with myself where I was like, you know what, dude, you're kind of just throwing whatever to the wind and like come what may, but also you haven't acknowledged to yourself that you really do want a lifelong, loving, beautiful relationship. And when I said that out loud, I was like, holy shit, I do want that. It feels weird and like not humble to say that somehow. But then when I did, I was like, well, of course I want that. And it's like, okay, dude, well, then, like, align yourself with that intention, with that desire that you have, and carry yourself that way. And then miraculously, a month after I kind of had that conversation, I met my current girlfriend, which is insane. And you know what? She told me a month or so before we met, she had basically the same talk with
That's
herself.
crazy. See, that's
Crazy.
something transformative that's bringing together your each of your intentions into something bigger. I mean, what else would you
Totally.
call that?
I mean, you could say the universe works in mysterious ways, miracles do happen, all of that shit, and I tend to think that those things are true. And but yeah, why not take a chance? Maybe something crazy, beautiful, amazing could happen. I think everyone at least knows one couple in their life where it's like, pff, of course they're meant for each other. Like, they are just perfect. They're seamless. Obviously, no relationship is perfect, but like, you can just tell they just love each other and they make each other happy. And why not at least try? Maybe it's not for you. Maybe you want to be alone. That's okay. But I honestly, like, even a few years ago, I told my mom, I was like, Mom, I just want you to know I may never get married. Like, I may never find the person for me. And I like being alone. I kind of, I'm thinking twice about all this stuff. And obviously, she got super sad. But then I was like, you know what, dude? I need to give this another shot. And anyway, enough about me. But I'm just trying to throw stuff out
Hey, did
there.
you hear the joke about the narcissist? The narcissist is sitting at dinner with his date, and he goes on for some time, and he's talking and talking, and he stops and he turns to her and he goes, "Enough about me. What do you think about me?"
That's wonderful, man. Okay, taking a slightly different tack again. I wanted to ask you what you would say to men and women right now who are really struggling with finding love, finding relationships. Is it worth it? Do you think? What would you say?
Yeah, I would say there's clearly a a disorienting relationship field that's making everything more confusing. And one of the most important things you can do is rouse yourself and turn you into the lover or partner that you wish to be in order so that you can trust the process of deepening into intimacy and relationship, and you find love by first finding it in yourself but not limiting it to that, allowing it to spill over and to love the people around you and sort of trust in the providence and the synchronicity of the universe.
How do you find love in yourself, bro?
How do you find it? Look right there. Look, it's right there. It's in there. It's next to the ventricle.
Oh, seriously.
No, I'm going to develop a practice for cultivating self-love. That's going to be available on the next podcast. So stay
Right
tuned,
on. Okay.
ladies and germs.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Asclepion. We hope you enjoyed the show and that you feel uplifted, empowered.
Yeah, just make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on X and all that shit, all right?
Farewell, friends.